My speech can often get me into the most trouble. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways when I first moved here, just seeing uh, how often the words that come out of my mouth cause problems. And yeah, and when I first moved here, Venerable Chodron was teaching Nagarjuna's Precious Garland. And repeatedly throughout this beautiful text, Nagarjuna reminds us of the importance of our speech, largely the importance of truth. But he qualifies what truth means. And it's not just that it's the bare facts. It's, of course, we want it to be accurate with what we're saying, but it's also whether the speech is useful, whether it's timely, and whether it's kind. And so, yeah, coming back to these four aspects of speech, I find very helpful because often my speech can be not useful and not timely. And that's where I bump into problems. And of course, as with everyone, I struggle also with keeping it accurate and also being kind. But I think the two big things that I run into is useful and timely. And reflecting on speech, going back to the Buddha's words, he had a great emphasis on speech, the 10 destructive actions. 4 of them pertain to speech: not to lie, to avoid divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle talk. And then in Eightfold Noble Path, there's right speech there. And in the 5 lay precepts that we take, that lay people take, one of them is to avoid lying. And Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful rendition or explanation, a verse actually of the one of the 5 precepts of to avoid lying, and he phrases it as a mindfulness practice as well, in terms of deep listening and loving speech. So I'll just read his verse that is part of a recitation that he has for the 5 lay precepts. And one of them is, to aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and inability to listen to others, I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I vow to learn to speak truthfully, with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to criticize or condemn things that I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I will make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. Just the fullness of his description of what could just be said in one, 3 words: do not lie, but encompassing it into this kind of beautiful practice, I find very inspiring. And here for me, the key is that it's not just about what we say, it's about how we listen. And this pertains to some of the empathy circle training that I've been doing recently, where they call it an empathy circle, empathic listening, but it also can be said to be reflective listening or active listening, where really we're just listening to another person speak and then reflecting back to them what they say. No opinions, no elaborations or interpretations or guessings of feeling or needs. And it relates back to some of the philosophy of Carl Rogers, a psychologist, around when people feel fully heard, then the healing can begin. And that's trusting in the wisdom that others have actually within themselves to come to their own conclusions. And that in the process of hearing themselves reflected back, they learn about themselves more than what someone else could tell them or advise them. And as through this training, I've just been reflecting on my experience about, and others' experience as well, in terms of how often in a conversation do I walk away feeling fully heard? Or how often, and when I don't feel heard or feel misunderstood, what results from that? There's some suffering that's there. And yeah, so then training in this empathy circle to be really present and listen to others is actually not so easy to really give undivided attention and be able then to repeat back in some way what someone else has said. And sitting there silently as someone is speaking, I'm also very aware of all the thoughts that are coming up in terms of, oh, you're wrong, or I know what you need, or oh, I have that same experience, let me tell you about it. And all these things are not what we offer to the person in this framework. But when outside of that framework, often what comes out of my mouth will be, oh, you're wrong, or I know what you need, or let me tell you about my own experience. And when I go there, it really, I think most of the time doesn't go very well. Either the other person walks away and I have this feeling of like, oh, that's not what they needed, or conflict can arise. Yeah, so going back to what Thich Nhat Hanh said in terms of developing this deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and to relieve others of their suffering, inspires me to question whether I really need to offer others my opinions about what they say or do. Yeah, what are people actually, when we're engaged in dialogue, what are they asking of me? And what would be skillful to offer them within this framework where, you know, every day we try and wake up to do no harm, be of benefit, and lead others to awakening. And is the way that I'm communicating helping me with that, in a line with that? And yeah. And yet, I've also been thinking that it doesn't just stop with empathy. That the technique or the process of empathic listening is not a panacea, in terms of if we could just be heard and then figure everything out on our own, then the Buddha wouldn't have needed to teach us. So, you know, my wisdom, inner wisdom right now is can only take me so far. That there are times when I need advice, I need direct teachings, I need direct admonishment, and I need an alternate perspective, and others need that as well. So then, this judgment of in what situation, with what person, in what role I'm playing at that time, what is needed, what would be beneficial. Yeah, so then there's a lot of gray area to play with, which really asks us to be paying a lot of attention to every interaction that we're having and judging what is needed right here. Yeah, this curiosity and taking the focus off myself, in terms of what's coming up for me in relation to how I'm reacting with interacting, often reacting with someone, to really put the emphasis on the person in front of me in terms of what cues they're giving me with their body language, how they're speaking, what they're speaking about, what's going on in their life outside of that that I know is coming along with them. Yeah. And then with the relating this back to bodhicitta in terms of, yeah, just this, if I'm going to be leading someone to awakening eventually, if I'm going to have that skill, then it has to be tailored to what that person is right now. It's not me coming in with my opinions and my ideas and however good intentions. That's just, we're going this direction now because I think so. It has to be so tailored to the person, how they're presenting in front of me. So it starts with listening. It really has to start with listening to really see the person and all that they're bringing in front. I wanted to end with a poem that I found very inspiring by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's from his collection of book collection of poems called Call Me By My True Names, which is many poems that he wrote during the Vietnam War. They're incredibly powerful, but one of them speaks directly to this need for deep listening and the power of offering that to others. And this is called Diffuse Me. If I were a bomb ready to explode, if I have become dangerous to your life, then you must take care of me. You think that you can get away from me, but how? I am right here, right in your midst. You cannot remove me from your life. And I may explode at any time. I need your care. I need your time. I need you to diffuse me. You are responsible for me because you made the vow and I heard it, to love and to care. I know that to take care of me, you need much patience, much coolness. I realize that in you there is also a bomb to be diffused. So why don't we help each other? I need you to listen to me. No one has listened to me. No one understands my suffering, including the ones who say they love me. The pain inside me is suffocating me. It is the TNT that makes up the bomb. There is no one else who will listen to me. That is why I need you. But you seem to be getting away from me. You want to run for your safety, the kind of safety that does not exist. I have not created my own bomb. It is you. It is society. It is family. It is school. It is tradition. So please don't blame me for it. Come and help. If not, I will explode. This is not a threat. It is only a plea for help. I will also be of help when it's your turn.